Hello and welcome to the Keep It Local Maine podcast, where we tell the stories of local business owners and Maine residents and learn more about what they do, who and what inspires them, their challenges, successes, and more. My name is Todd Regalinski.
And I am Kimberly Regalinski.
And we are the publishers of Keep It Local Maine, a local magazine that helps showcase local businesses to the people in and around their communities. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly podcast that you can subscribe to on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can learn more about us at keepitlocalmaine.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the links in the show notes. In this episode, we'll be talking with Dr. Casey Winters from Unbound Potential Chiropractic in Scarborough, Maine. Dr. Casey focuses on gentle, neurologically-based care for the entire family with no twisting, cracking, or popping. She's come to know that large amounts of force aren't needed to make adjustments to the nervous system. While Dr. Casey loves working with the entire family, she specializes in pregnancy and pediatric care. Unbound Potential Chiropractic provides the opportunity to embrace your vital life force by allowing its power to heal your body from within. By allowing your body to function in an unhindered state, you'll find the capacity to live your deepest dreams.
Welcome to the show, Dr. Casey. We are so glad to have you here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to chatting with you guys.
This is great. So I think there are a lot of people out there who don't completely understand what a chiropractor does. Could you give us the explain it like I'm five version of what a chiropractor does and how it can benefit a person?
Absolutely. No problem. That's a great question because there's so many different types of chiropractic and the way that people address the body, just like any other profession, right? Mm-hmm. So what I do in my space is non-traditional chiropractic, which means that we don't do any of the twisting or the popping that you hear about or see on some of those really crazy videos on TikTok, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't comfortable receiving that sort of care as a practice member when I saw a chiropractor prior to school, but I knew that there had to be another way. So what we do as chiropractic in our space is we look at the way the body communicates with itself. So the brain sends all the messages from your neural network to the rest of your body, all the cells, all the tissues, all the organs. And this pathway that the brain sends these messages is through your nervous system. But what can happen over time is that we accumulate tension within our body. So those tension points can come from so many different things, but the major things are physical traumas, and those can be major or they can be minor, right? So the major ones that people think about right away are the car accidents, the contact sports, slips, trips, falls, things like that. But the minor ones are going to be those repetitive positions that we place our body in. So whether you always drive with your right hand on the steering wheel, or if you have children and you always lift those children up and carry them on the left hip, or if you have improper posture.
Which is hilarious because both Kim and I straightened up immediately when you said it.
You guys, that is so funny. When I speak at my BNI meetings, I can see people physically sit up straighter.
So you were talking about posture. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Thank you. So the posture of a person's body can add tension to different places. So whether you have forward head posture and you're placing tension on your upper neck, or maybe your low back is overextended and you're placing pressure on some of the lower disc areas and around your hip area. And so these added tension points over time, these physical ones, can cause tension patterns to exist throughout the body. And if we're not consciously creating a life that is going to decrease those tension patterns, then those will increase over time, and your body at some point will start to tell you that it needs some help, right? And that's when people generally come to see me, is because they are feeling like they are in pain. They're feeling these tension patterns over time that have manifested as some sort of ache, pain, or misfunction. And I think it's a really great explanation, like you're five.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was a lot.
So when you like, how in depth is your inquiry process when you're, because that's a whole lot of information, or is it, you need to ask a lot of questions, or is it almost like a tailor who has worked for decades and a person comes in and they're like, yes, you are a size this and that and the other, and they can kind of size someone up. When someone walks in, do you kind of have that same sort of sense, or do you go through like kind of a list of questions?
Yes, and right. I feel like you can really start to pick up the patterns and the tension patterns in a human form, especially as they're walking. You could see the imbalances in their hips. You can see the tension patterns of the musculature through their shoulders and into their neck. But what it really comes down to is, what are the goals of the practice member? Because I can go through a complete analysis and share with them like my best practices on how to help them. But if all they want to do is get out of pain, or if all they want to do is see a decrease in their forward head posture, we can work towards that. Absolutely. But what they're going to see in the process is so many other changes, because we're making direct impact on the communication from the brain to the body. And so their goals really impact how we're going to address care in the practice.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So your website says, through building a fortified foundation of body, mind, and spirit, we go beyond the surface to find the limitations you place upon yourself. Can you give us some specifics on how you do that?
Yeah. So like I was just mentioning, we really take a look at practice members' goals. And along with that, we do an all-inclusive case history. We address the posture of the body. We do a neurological assessment. We do a muscular assessment. And we also do a stress adaptability test. And so putting all those things together is a really great opportunity for people to see the big picture of how their body is functioning, instead of just focusing on those specific pain points. Because a lot of times the pain that's manifesting in our body, like let's say you have low back pain, that might not actually be caused by tension in your low back. It might be caused by tension in your hips, or it might be caused by tension in your neck. And so we don't always address the pain points, because that might not be the cause of the tension in the body.
Yeah, it's almost like when you, I imagine it like a house, like a leak is coming through the ceiling here, but it might be running through several different points in your attic to get to that point, and the leak could actually be 6 feet down the roof line.
Exactly. Yeah. In the practice, we use the analogy at like a garden hose. So if you have a kink at the beginning of the garden hose, you don't notice it until the very end, because that's where the decrease of water is coming out. Exactly.
So one little follow-up question: what is a stress adaptability test? Because that sounds kind of rigorous, a little scary.
Like the practice member has to put in the least amount of work for that one. Really what it does is it sends a frequency through the fingertips of the body. It looks at the heart's ability to change from the parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, and your sympathetic, which is your fight and flight response. And so just putting those pulse waves through your fingertips, a practice member sits there for about 3 minutes, nice and still, and we get some results back sharing with us how they are either easily able to adapt to additional demands in their life, or maybe not so easily.
So
interesting.
We can understand how going to a chiropractor for the first time, it might be intimidating for some people. What can a new patient expect when they come to you?
Yeah, great question. So we always have a very open conversation in the beginning. So we'll be able to share with them how chiropractic can help them reach their goals. And then we have like a really in-depth conversation about their health history, why they're here, what brought them to chiropractic. And if we're a great fit together, then fabulous. But if we're not, I will always go out of my way to make sure that I can get these people who are searching for answers, get them to somebody who can help them. So that's always a guarantee that we share with our practice members, like right in the beginning, because we want to build really great relationships with folks in the community. And we want to be a place that people reach out to when they have questions.
That's great.
So is there other medical disciplines that kind of dovetail with chiropractic better than others, or is it really an individual situation that for the patient themselves?
Yeah. So I love that question because people get very concerned about like undoing the work that we're doing in the practice, but that's never the case. So typically I would suggest for practice members to also get massage care because massage care can be so great and so beneficial because they're working specifically with the musculature of the body while I'm working on the neurology and the structure of their spine. And so those two things go really, really well together, along with physical activity. So whether like you're hardcore at the gym, whether you take your baby out for a walk, or it's like you having the best time with your pup, whatever that physical activity looks like for you, that is really great to get the tension patterns. Like we're shaking them up, we're moving them a little bit, we're getting that energy up and out, and it's giving the body a really great opportunity to release some of those patterns that may have been stuck within you for a long time. So massage and exercise are great benefits when getting chiropractic care too.
That's awesome.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
So you and your husband both have very interesting stories leading up to your current practice. Can you share a little bit about that and how your different experiences and perspectives along the way have helped you both in business and just professionally?
Yeah, we are actually both not from the area, which many people ask, well, what brought you to Maine, right? So we met each other at school in South Carolina, and we really wanted to make a new home for ourselves. And so we traveled the country to find a space that really felt like home for us. And so we moved here in June or July of last year, and we opened our practice in January. And along that way, of course, you have all the plans and you make all your strategic purposes, and then something up there is just laughing at us, right? So we got the news that my husband is in the Army Reserves. And we got news in the winter that he was going to be deployed for a year-long deployment. His unit was called active. And so instead of having the two of us be in the practice together, we really had to take a look at what it was going to look like for me to be in the practice on my own and practicing as a solo doc. So, of course, as everyone has done the past 2 years, like the new tag word, we pivoted and we're in this super, super cute space in Scarborough that really is perfect for me to be able to practice on my own.
And can you tell us what's your husband's name?
Yes. My husband's name is Bob, Dr. Bob Winters.
Bob, okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I just want to thank Dr. Bob Winters too, just for his service. I'm going to get all emotional. I don't know why. I'm going to get emotional here. I'm just, it's such a sacrifice. So we just want to thank him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you. I know he would tell you that he's really happy to be serving.
Another thing that I was kind of interested in reading your bio, I mean, not only are you not from Maine, but you're both from different areas of the country as well.
Yeah. My family is from Minnesota and his family is in Pennsylvania. And we met in school at South Carolina. I guess we both had the idea that we wanted to see what the South was like for a few years while we were in grad school. And here we are back in the North.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you, if I'm remembering correctly, your undergrad was in business.
Yes.
And your husband was also in chiropractic?
Yeah, his undergrad was in biology.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yes.
Yeah, so we have a little bit like different backgrounds, which the business actually, of course, has come in very handy for myself.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I think biology like really prepared Bob for grad school. He was very successful there with that background in mind.
That's great.
It's always, I'm always fascinated by just how all those different things come into play and how people use various tools that they pick up along the way and how they put all those together in what they're doing now. Is there anything kind of there that stands out like, oh yeah, these three things that don't seem to go together really well in what I do?
Yeah, I think so. So I never would have thought that I would have needed my business degree so much. And it also makes me think, wow, like those years that I didn't really know what I was doing and why I was doing it, like there was a purpose for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes full circle. And I know that for Dr. Bob and his biology degree, like he loves where we are because he can be so passionate about the outdoors here. He took a lot of like environmental biology classes at the time. And so we can just really enjoy where life has taken us because, like I said, I don't think either of us, we didn't go to our undergrad knowing that we were going to be chiropractors. Like that was not our purpose. And we found our purpose somewhere along the way, and it is a beautiful world that we live in now.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. I love that. So what is the most valuable lesson that you've learned in the last year, either, in business, medicine, or just professionally?
I think the biggest lesson for me is patience. And my mom would just giggle if she heard me say that. But it is something that has always been something I need to work on and I continue to work on. But patience for sure. Opening a practice takes patience. Knowing that your husband is leaving takes patience. And working with people through, well, the pandemic essentially takes patience because their concerns are voiced so differently than what we might have seen 2 years ago. So I think that is 100% what I have learned this last year.
Yeah. Actually, kind of a tie-in to that. So when we had Dr. Phil on here, not the Dr. Phil, but a Dr. Phil, Dr. Phil Finemore, who you've been on Dr. Phil's podcast as well.
Yeah.
And he had said that he noticed kind of an increase in some of the injuries that people were having in terms of working from home, not being in the same environment that they're normally in. Have you kind of noticed some of that in your line of work as well?
Absolutely. Something that I don't think I mentioned before. So I talked about how there's a couple different ways that tension patterns develop in the body. There's the physical, which we talked a lot about. Then there's the mental and emotional, which I kind of breezed over for some reason, but I'm glad to circle back on this because not only have people had the physical tension patterns change in their body because they have been sitting on a couch for a few months because nobody planned for this to happen for so long. Or, a lot of neck concerns and a lot of shoulder concerns, which were common before, but it seems to be a very common complaint now. But then the emotional tension patterns. So I've been seeing a lot of folks really struggling with anxiety, a lot of folks really struggling with depression. These are just something that, the world that we live in is causing people so much emotional, like trauma. Let's be honest, we'll say the word trauma.
Yeah,
this last year has been traumatic for many, many people. And they're showing their tension patterns. It can be very apparent when we do the examination.
Do you feel like you're developing a new skill set, or do you feel like you're kind of honing some of those skills just through having to engage with this a bit more?
Yeah, the conversations are becoming easier for me to help facilitate. And I'm really feeling like we can connect better, like my practice members and I can connect better to develop the goal of where they would like to be.
So I remember this is kind of a little bit, well, not really off subject, but I remember hearing about one of the first chiropractic patients and what that person was healed from.
Yeah. Do you remember what it was?
Yes. He was deaf.
He was.
And so I just remember that always stuck with me. When was it? It was back in like the 1950s?
Oh my gosh,
it was earlier than that.
This. It was just about 100 years ago now.
Yeah. And so that was always fascinating to me. I just always found that really interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
The very first chiropractor, of course, he wasn't a chiropractor at the time. He was, I think he was an MD, to be honest, but he was taking a look at this gentleman who got into an accident at work that had caused him to become deaf. The gentleman had something that fell on his neck. And so Dee Palmer was assessing this gentleman's body, and he noticed one of the bones in his upper neck was like really out of place. And so he performed the first adjustment. And you're right, the gentleman's name was Harvey Lillard, and he got his hearing back, and it was fantastic. And then
such a cool story.
Dee, he had all these patients coming to him thinking that he could cure them of deafness. Mm-hmm. And what they found was that it wasn't a cure for deafness, but people were seeing benefits all in different areas of their health. So people were having reduction in allergies, they were having reduction in neck pain, back pain. Sometimes he would adjust like elbows and knees, and people would get some really great results. And so they found that chiropractic wasn't just for deafness, but it was for overall body wellness, which is fantastic.
That's so cool. Yeah. That's so cool.
The funny thing is, I'm normally the one who has these little bits of trivia.
I'm so proud of myself.
And Kim here has her own little bit of trivia.
Yeah,
yes,
she
I
just
do.
whipped that one up. I love it. That was such a good one too.
Yeah, where'd you learn that again?
You know what, Todd? Okay, I learned it from a date. I went on a date with a chiropractor. If the truth must be told, okay?
It's fascinating.
Oh,
fascinating. We may or may not edit that out. I'll see how I'm feeling. I'll see how I'm feeling that day. All right. So one of the questions that we kind of like to ask these, because we're definitely interested, and we think that this is interesting for other people to hear as well, from business owners or just individuals, is how do you define success? And this can be either professionally or personally, whatever metric you use.
I define success by the amount of joy that I have in my life and the amount of joy that I can bring to others. And this is really why I do what I do, because the best way that I've found to bring joy to myself and to my patient, my practice members, is to help them do what they want to do and to live pain-free and high function. And if that's what helps bring them success and what helps bring them joy, then I am so happy doing that on a daily basis.
Love that.
I think it's one of the benefits of, because we've been doing this podcast about a year now, is when we ask people this question, I'm really starting to notice. I mean, it's only taken a year. I'm real quick on the uptake, let me tell you. But it's not dollars. It really does. It's so often. How often have we heard the word joy when we've asked this question?
Absolutely.
Oh, really? That's so interesting. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and I can especially see it with something like what you do.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're anytime you can relieve people of pain or discomfort or help them increase the joy in their life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't get joy from that. I can see how that would be
You're living
huge.
a life of purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. And for the way that we measure it in the practice isn't about getting out of pain. It's about grandma being able to pick up her 5-year-old grandchild that she never has been able to before. Or it's about somebody who is post-accident who really wants to go wakeboarding again. We measure their success in their joy, in their world.
Yeah. That's great. Well, we are very much inspirational, fueled by inspiration. So we always, like to ask this, but, who or what would you say inspires you?
I really think my husband inspires me. He really inspires me to be the best version of myself so that I can be here to uplift my community, even though, like so many people have said, we sacrifice so much. Ooh, this is a really hard question. It's like making me cry.
I'm getting choked up too.
We never thought of ourselves as hard-hitting journalists, but apparently we ask the tough questions that no one else will.
Oh, it's true. It's
it is, but it's a great question, because I love asking this question, because you can actually hear people thinking.
Yeah.
And really value. I mean that in the least wise guy way, which is really rare coming from me. Kim will attest to that. but you can really hear people going through. You can almost hear their thoughts, like, oh, no, and really kind of parsing all that down. And it's really beautiful to hear people talk about their husband, their their parents or whoever that inspires them. Mm-hmm. It's great.
Beautiful.
Ooh, I bet you can hear emotion in people's voices through it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is just more inspiring for us, and
absolutely. It makes us human.
Yeah.
Very true.
Well, Dr. Casey, thank you so much for taking time out to talk with us and to share your story and your husband's story, and kind of give us more knowledge about what a chiropractor does and what you do specifically, because I think it was not something that I was really familiar with, but I definitely feel like I know more now than I did at the beginning of this conversation. So thank you so much for that.
Yes,
we really appreciate that.
And we just want to say again, thank you to Dr. Bob. If you're listening to this, we just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice for this country, for your community. You are a true hero. These are the heroes. These are the people that I consider heroes, are the people that sacrifice and lay down their lives daily. So we just want to say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me here. I have had a fabulous time sharing with you about what I do. I just really enjoy sharing how chiropractic can bring joy to the folks in our community.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And go see Dr. Casey. She will help you out, and check out, and we'll have everything.
I'll have links to the website on in the show notes, so you can go ahead and click there. I'll also have phone number and address information, as well as social media. And actually, one thing we almost forgot, but we didn't because I'm mentioning it now, is you have some events coming up.
Yes,
I do. Yes,
Tell us about
I do.
Those events.
I have a ladies' night out, which is going to be on October 14th. The Thursday from 5 to 7, and what that looks like is going to be a gathering of a few practitioners in the area. So we're going to have Dr. Emily Wilson with Pelvic Floor PT. She is going to be speaking, as well as Dr. Hannah Freeman with Cove Natural Medicine. She's a naturopathic doctor. Talia Rosenblum is with Burnout Life Coach. And then we have Tasha Tremaine, she's an emotional coder. And so we're going to have these fabulous ladies speaking. They're going to be doing some interactive conversation, and we'll have some snacks, we'll have some mocktails, and I think it'll just be a really great time to have some ladies come together and hear about some opportunities that they may not have known about for their health purposes, and just to be able to share with their friends as well. So that is our first one. And our second event is going to be October 20th. It is going to be a full moon party. Woohoo!
Yay!
So if the weather is appropriate, we will meet at Pine Point Beach. Some
fun.
energy clearing. We'll set some intentions. We'll do some meditation, and it will be fabulous.
Awesome. And is there a sign up that you do online, or do they call you to sign up for this? How does that all work?
I have event pages on Facebook that are linked to our Unbound Potential Chiro page. So hopefully it should be easy for folks to find. If they could just RSVP, that would be wonderful, so we can have an idea of how many will be joining us.
That's great.
All right, so I will put links to those in the show notes as well, and make sure that people can have as easy of a path to find those as possible. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
we
being
really
here.
appreciate you being here and sharing your story.
It's been great.
And have a great rest of your day, and best of luck at finishing up your first year in business.
Congratulations.
I know, we're going to have a party.
Yes, for sure.
Most definitely. So, have a great rest of your week, and thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Casey.
Thank you.